Did you think playing guitar solos all over the fretboard would be easy? Well, I did. Now I can play that kind of thing. But trust me, I struggle a lot to get here, and I wish I'd know how to do it smarter. So to help you visualize the fretboard easily, here are 13 things I learned that will help transform your solos. Lesson 1. When I started playing solos, I learned the first pentatonic shape, like we all did. And pretty quickly I was able to do that kind of lick, you know. But then I wanted more. So I learned shape 2, 3, 4 and 5. But the problem was every time I tried to improvise over these new shapes, it was a disaster. And I always ended up stuck in my comfort zone, the first shape again and again and again. So lesson number 1 is this: learn licks in every pentatonic shape. It sounds pretty simple, but if you want to play cool musical stuff everywhere on the neck, you have to learn cool musical stuff everywhere on the neck. Otherwise, you're just playing with a series of dots and patterns. And by the way, if you want to level up your solos, click the link in the description. You'll get my best tips by email, plus all the tabs and resources from my videos. Lesson number 2. One day, when I was a student at the Music Academy International in Nancy, one of my teachers told us, don't just learn all the scale positions one after the other, also try playing them on a single string. Well, he probably didn't say it exactly like that, but that idea stuck in my head. Because at the time I was really attached to my little box patterns. Playing on a single string felt hard and honestly a bit embarrassing. So lesson 2 is stop thinking of the fretboard just as vertical shapes. You'll unlock a whole new dimension of the guitar and brand new ideas. Lesson 3. But sometimes it was tough and playing horizontal licks didn't feel natural at all, so I kept falling back into my vertical boxes. And on the rare occasions I managed a horizontal phrase, I raised my head like I'd just hit the most heroic move ever, waiting for applause. That never came. Maybe because I was alone in my room and nobody cares. But everything changed when I discovered lesson 3, the horizontal pentatonic shape. It links position 5, 1 and 2 in a smooth way. Lesson number 4. When I finally decided to dive into music theory, I felt completely overwhelmed by all the information out there. I tried to learn the modes, improvise over chord progressions, and all that stuff. But somehow I always ended up playing the same pentatonic licks again and again and again. And it started to feel like everything I was doing was pointless. So lesson number 4 is to learn the basics first, then move to more complex stuff. Learn your fretboard notes, understand intervals and know how the chords are built. And once you've got those down, the rest of theory suddenly makes sense and you will feel real progress. Lesson number 5. If I blindfolded you and dropped you in the middle of a city you know well but didn't tell you exactly where you were, you'd waste a lot of time trying to find your way. Well, that's exactly what happens when you don't know which key you're playing in. You can't navigate with confidence, you struggle to memorize what you're playing, and you miss the chance to visualize the fretboard differently. And the worst part? You probably already know the key, you just didn't stop to notice. So here's lesson 5. Take the time to acknowledge what key you're in, whatever you play. Lesson number 6. When I first attempted to master the notes on the neck, I found the 2 best tricks to find every note on the fretboard. First trick, go fret by fret. E, F, F sharp, G. Second trick, the famous triangle pattern. And for a while I convinced myself it was working. But the truth? I still needed 2 or 3 seconds to find any note. Not exactly ideal when you're trying to play in real time. So lesson 6 is this: learn the notes on the fretboard. For real, because there's a big difference between knowing a trick to find a note and actually knowing it by heart. Lesson number 7. You might have guessed, because I said it a bunch of times in this video, I was obsessed with playing the pentatonic scale all over the fretboard. I printed out tons of tabs and diagrams and tried every possible trick to navigate freely. But when I looked at my fretboard, it just felt like a giant game of Contextual. Not very musical, random dots everywhere and a little bit confusing. Lesson 7 is this. If you want to play guitar instead of Contextual, learn the root note in every pentatonic shape first and then focus on the intervals. That's when the fretboard finally starts to make sense. Lesson number 8. I got the chance to work with hundreds of students in my online guitar course. You don't know it because it's in French, but maybe it's gonna change. And I noticed that one of their biggest problems is that their solos sound robotic. Here is their story. They first learn to improvise with the pentatonic scale, but then they get bored playing the 5 same notes. So they decided to learn new scales, aka the major scale with all the modes. And what's the most common way to learn major scale? So when they jam over a backing track, you know what they play? Yep, there are a bunch of problems with that. First, you have no idea how the pentatonic scale and the major scale are related. Then you already know how to make music with pentatonic scale, so why not add things on it instead of changing everything? And if you get bored with 5 notes, this will not change anything. So lesson number 8 is don't learn the 3 notes per string major scale. There are far better ways to introduce you to new scales. Lesson number 9. One day, one of my students came to me with this problem. He learned the 1st and the 4th position of the pentatonic scale and was able to improvise with them pretty easily. Then he tried to learn shape 2, 3 and 5 but couldn't memorize them and felt completely stuck. And I thought a lot about it and realized he was overcomplicating things, making the whole thing seem way harder than it really is. That's when I discovered a very simple way to fix his problem, and it's lesson 9. Use the 1 note per string hack to link shape 1 to shape 4. Because if I show you here on the screen a diagram of the minor pentatonic scale across the entire fretboard and then highlight only position 1 and 4, you'll see that they already cover almost the whole neck, except for that 1 note per string line connecting them. Lesson 10. One of the first bunch of guitar videos I got obsessed with was Guthrie Govan's JTC series, and I remember thinking, oh wow, how does Guthrie sound so perfectly in sync with the chord progression while improvising? He always seems to know exactly where he is, where he's going, and how to get there. What's the magic trick here? Well, there's no magic trick. It's lesson number 10. Learn the triads and practice them all across the neck. Lesson number 11. For my first 5 years of playing guitar, I was almost completely alone. I lived in a tiny town in the middle of nowhere in Normandy, and I had no one to jam with. So sad. So when I finally joined my first band, I discovered there were gaps in my playing, things you just can't notice when you always practice alone. The worst one? I couldn't count 8 measures while improvising. I was constantly waiting for a drum fill to know where I was, and I never felt confident. And I kept thinking, when will I finally get this? Well, the answer is simple. You just have to practice it. Lesson number 11. Practice targeting chord tones over backing tracks. Once you do, you'll always know exactly where you are in the chord progression and never get lost. Lesson 12. Let me introduce you to something I call the cat technique. Cats are great at covering large areas without getting lost, but they don't suddenly jump from your house straight into your neighbor's cozy bedroom. They start small, from the house to the garden, then back home. Once they're comfortable with that route, they extend it. House, garden, then the street. And little by little, they expand their territory, always returning to what they know. So lesson 12 is the cat technique. Always connect something new to something familiar. For example, link the first pentatonic shape to the second one using slides. Or take the minor pentatonic and add new intervals to explore mode. That's how you expand your fretboard knowledge, one comfortable step at a time. Lesson 13. In 2021, while I was paying at a supermarket, I suddenly realized something weird. I'd almost forgotten my credit card PIN. Did my brain just explode into 1,000 of tiny pieces of glitter? No. It's just that during COVID, we all got used to paying contactless. So my brain decided that my PIN code was useless information and tossed it in the trash. Our brains only hold on to what we actually use. So lesson 13 is this: make theory useful in your playing. If you learn the notes on the fretboard, use them every day when you play. But if you don't actually know how to learn them, all this lesson to visualize the fretboard would be just useless, and you'll just keep seeing it as a bunch of dots and patterns. So go watch this video where I show you how to learn all the notes on the fretboard in just 2 weeks and the common mistakes you will want to avoid.